Welcome back to artofdino.com, and here is the Smithsonian, the Castle, the 1800s, mid-1800s building that has strange origins where there's always been a little bit of controversy. And I found a couple articles that are all pretty relevant, ranging from 1857 all the way up to the present time. And it's kind of interesting how they all connect in an interesting way, and so I wanted to just kind of share this all with you, and you can make from it what you think. Got some cool pictures and some cool articles, so let's take a look, because this is the most important. Washington, January 18th, 1847, Smithsonian Institution, extra session. There have been no less than 3 circulars issued within the last 2 days, one with the imposing caption, "The Constitution must and shall be preserved," and taking the text, "Are the regents of the Smithsonian Institution constitutionally appointed, especially those who are members of Congress?" The negative is maintained, in an effort made to show that the doings of the Regency, not the Albany, are thus far void and of no effect. So, before I continue to read, this author is clearly one of these people writing in the papers that thinks like us. One of the few times where people like us slide through the cracks and provide an opinion early enough and found in a nice enough paper, just tucked away where it's relevant to today still. So take a look at this, because it's interesting how this all connects, and the origins of this building are very suspect, and both in the reality that they tell us, the one that you kind of can figure out and people have kind of figured out over time, and as well as the reality that we theorize about, that this was not made in the modern era by these people. But who knows? Let's see if we can shed some light on this. So the next paragraph says, William P. Elliott, an architect and civil engineer, addressed the public, reviewing an article in the Courier which he considers does great injustice to the talented members of the honorable profession of architecture, and calls in question the classic taste of Mr. Owen of the House of Representatives and Mr. Seaton, the mayor of Washington, 2 of the executive committee. He says they have peculiar notions about styles of architecture, and from some cause have become very much in favor of a style that has been almost entirely abandoned since the revival, in part of the pure Grecian styles and of the refined Gothic. If, as is stated, the executive committee acted in the manner charged, they are in the highest degree censurable. So I'm going to keep going. But the most important of all is the memorial to Congress, which is being handed to all persons for signatures. It expresses deep sorrow that the Executive Committee are about to recommend to the Regents the adoption of New York marble as a material of which to build the contemplated Smithsonian Institution. Which marble is to be addressed? Worked and prepared by convicts in the state prison at Sing Sing. So this created a big little stir around here, and throughout history, as you'll see in some of the other articles, they refer to it as slave labor. So this article refers to it as prison labor, and I'm curious as to which one is which, and if the two are somewhat interchangeable. That's the main thought I get from this, is that slavery and imprisonment is one and the same thing. And a lot of these people that they were probably imprisoning, the crazy ones, the people like us, the free thinkers, and maybe even the people of past civilizations that knew little too much. So comparing both of them together is an interesting thing. So it goes on to say, it is a matter of regret that Smithson left his money to disseminate knowledge among men, if scrambling for dollars is to be one of the first results of the bequest. Proposals have been issued for the erection of the buildings, and of course the lowest bidder should be preferred. But as the institution is designed to endure for ages, it would have been better policy to pay good prices and have the work well executed by practical men, instead of holding out inducements to those who buy the labor of convicts at 35 cents a day. The stigma, state prison labor, attached to an institution which should belong to the great mass of the people, will at once create a disgust among the mechanics of the country that will throw the benefits to be derived among those that toil not nor spin. So right away they're saying, like this institution, which is claimed to be of the benefit of the people and all this stuff, you're telling us it's this, blah, blah, blah. You guys are the keepers of truth. You're the definers of history. You're all this stuff. And you're going to start the work by hiring slave labor and by using materials and stuff that are as cheap as possible and all this stuff. So they're talking about this in this time, which this article again is from 1847, and I don't think the building was built until about 10 plus years later, or it was discovered or repurposed or refounded. And so they went from marble, it even refers to it in the Wikipedia, where they went from marble and they ended up with the Seneca sandstone, I believe. It says here, yeah, Seneca red sandstone from the quarry in Maryland. So that's what that is from. And so is that, again, there's no construction photos. The very first photo of this video is the first known photo. So it already starts totally built. There's no sign of anything in that 10 years between this article and when it was supposedly completed. So there's something interesting there. They went from the marble and prisoners to supposed slave labor and Seneca sandstone. And again, was this built or was it founded? Was it repurposed? Did they just like buff it up and clean it up and then inevitably release it? And some of these photos show interesting, area shots of the Washington, D.C. zone where this is. And it was called the castle again. And why would you necessarily need a castle? Wouldn't you want like more of a warehouse and like a massive like kind of storage facility? But either way, it seems like some of these designs would be a little bit too much, but again, maybe not. But most likely I'm going with my gut on this and saying that this castle was founded and the stories were and repurposed, and the stories just kind of I don't know, were put out there. I'm torn in this one because again, this article talks about the prisoners and using marble. Inevitably, they used Seneca sandstone, and they supposedly used slave labor, which is from a lot of people are discovering in the articles that I posted a little bit earlier. You can check out that text. But and they're keeping it very hush-hush. The guy who did that article recently, I think it was 2012, he went to the Smithsonian for comment, and they refused to. So that, again, is a sign. And this building, again, looks like so many other buildings in Europe and all over the world that are, again, founded, we think, and have a much earlier date than the 1850s when all this stuff was built. And again, this same story follows as they had a contest for the architect. The best one won. There's supposedly a cardboard model of it built in the or hanging out and displayed in the place right now. That's the first known picture right there, and not one picture was taken before that, but with any other blocks, any other part of the construction, not one picture, just that completed one. So again, all these stories, all these three different or multiple different stories collide in just a jumbled up nonsense of what is actually real and what is not real. And I think these buildings were all over America and have a much earlier date than this mid-1800s when people are mostly building wooden shacks, and nothing as quite as elaborate as this seems to be possible with the people of that time who didn't know what to do when they went to beaches. They don't know what to do for a lot of different things, and it seems like they were placed here in the wrong spot and didn't know what to do, and were told what to do by their controllers, and just kind of went around and were like, oh, well, inevitably we'll trust the Smithsonian and we'll give them all our stuff and we'll trust our story and history to them. But again, that article that I read was people that were contrarians to the Smithsonian and were sketched out by it originally and wanted to see something that was good for humanity. But already in the origins, the very beginning of the Smithsonian was sketchiness, cheapness, all this stuff, using state labor, going up against all this thing, using probably, who knows, but or just founding a building. And maybe even just the slave laborers were the ones who repurposed the building and made it clean again and made it usable again, and maybe did the grounds. That is a little more believable to me than using, again, slave labor or prison labor to get immaculate construction work, to get the work of artists and artisans and well-accomplished masons. You can't hire people in prison to do that kind of work. They can go grunt work and manual labor and stuff, but they're not going to be chiseling immaculate designs and doing sculptures and doing elaborate patterns in marble and different materials, sandstone and all this stuff when they're prisoners. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second, to be honest. I would think a prisoner would not want to take any pride in their work, and this work is very pride filled. Look at the elaborate ornamentation all over the place. It is not from the same people. And again, this story is way bigger and much more gigantic than I can do in this particular video. I just wanted to get your theories and stuff out there because I got a collection of other articles that I will pump out later. And again, I always say raid the Smithsonian peacefully. You know, I would love for us to just have a whistleblower basically raid the Smithsonian for us, someone that digitizes everything and unleashes it upon the world. Hey, here are the secrets that the Smithsonian has been hiding. Someone should definitely do that, because it's a little different when you're exposing historical secrets as to exposing government secrets of the present and things that kind of could put present people and companies and technologies and masses of people in danger with this particular tech and all that nonsense that they do keep secret. But about our history, why keep that secret? You know, if there are people out there who know about that and have ways to whistleblow and info dump enough things that would eradicate the mainstream history, then someone should do that, because it doesn't really hurt anyone. It only benefits people. And the people that were all about this, the people that dedicated their lives to making sure that all the beautiful history was destroyed and lost for future generations, are all long gone. So those people with those dark, sinister intentions are so gone, and their descendants, although may have that same mentality somehow in them, and that some little bit of pride connected to it, are not as strong-willed and as determined as they were in the past. So some point someone has to unleash the beast on history and set us all free, so we can know how glorious we came from and stop following these alleys of just believing whatever or just everything. There's so many different contrarian ideas out there in every direction on so many different topics that it's tough to really sink our teeth into what could be the truth. And I would love to do that, because I want to stop thinking in theory and start being like, wow, this is it, boom, that's it. Dang, that connects with this connects with that, this is who we are, let's take this power and let's bring it back to a dimension that is beautiful, powerful, and awesome. So we'll see what happens in the future. Stay tuned for more on the Smithsonian, and if there's any whistleblowers out there, unleash the info and free us all of our decrepit history and bring back the truth about us all, which we know is filled with miracles and wonders beyond comprehension. But it's time to comprehend it, so let's do it. Bless you all. And as a little bonus, I don't want this one to slip through the cracks. Definitely take a look at the clips that I show in my videos, but take a look and read this and factor this into everything. There have been innumerable other fakes of the sort, among them some mummifications made of glue and cactus fiber. This was the composition of a great Arizona giant that the Smithsonian Institute once thought of buying. Somewhere in California there is said to be a factory that turns out petrifications wholesale, men, women, and children. These wares are subsequently discovered in different localities and begin to make money for their exhibitors until each particular fraud is fully exposed. What the real origin of the Cardiff giant was, no one seems to know. He is not the real thing, but he is an interesting old codger, and in view of his maddled career, may be worth the price of admission. So this is from an old paper around early 1900s, late 1800s, again, which talked about a lot of these fakes, which were being exposed in a factory in California, of course, which would be putting them out and pumping out the fake news all the way back then. So again, everything you read, everything we hear, everything we think, we learn, we have to take it from all directions. So again, factor that in. Have a great one.